And welcome back to the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast. On today's episode, boy, am I excited and even now a little hungry now I'm thinking about it. I have Megan Shanka, owner of Happy Mango Bakery. Megan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I gotta say, for the listeners at home, full transparency, I just bought some of your guys' cupcakes last weekend for my girlfriend's birthday. She loved them.
Excellent.
I loved them. I got to eat some of them. I got to try.
Did you were allowed to touch any of them, or were they?
I was allowed a bite of each. I got to sample each. So,
nice. Good.
No, we did split them. The pink champagne is fantastic. Delicious. So I'm very, very excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah.
For the listeners, not maybe rural to Omaha, maybe outside of us, how long have you been around Happy Mango Bakery, that is, and how did it get started?
That's an interesting story. So, 2020 it's been around since then, but I was working out of my home until literally earlier this year. So we started in 2020 and it came about from the pandemic shutting everything down basically. And at that time I was running an Airbnb out of our basement or home, being a stay-at-home mom and like doing that for extra income. It was an easy, I go down there, change the sheets every week and I'm done, but, and I got to be home with my kids. But everything shut down, and I had known that after I had my last child in January of 2020 that I wanted to pursue something that was like my own. I've always had this entrepreneur thing going on in my brain, and so I wanted to pursue something that was my own. I had some ideas. I wanted to run with it, and I thought, well, what better time to do it than now? Yeah. Because, there's no worse time. Like, this is the worst time. It can only get better. So I started dabbling with stuff, and I knew how to bake and I knew how to do cupcakes, so I just kind of started with that, playing in the kitchen and different things, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So thus we end up where we are now. So
yeah, and so now you officially are brick and mortared. How long have you been in the spot? You guys are just off of 96th and Giles for the listeners at home. How long have you been there?
So we finally moved in, even though we had some delays with construction earlier this year. We finally moved in and we're open May 31st.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
Awesome.
So it was like the tail end of May. Everyone kept asking me, when's it open? I was like, May, sometime in May. And we squeezed in just at the end of May. But that was our soft open. So we were still trying to get things set. We still had minor construction going on, like trying to find the right counter space and everything. It looked kind of like a disaster in there for a while, but we had our grand opening when we finally felt like we were ready for the public to completely like bombard us the last Saturday in July, so it's July 27th.
Love that.
So since then, we've been more on point. There's a lot of behind the scenes going on that we're trying to get things worked out and processes done and everything else, but it's been a short time, but it feels like a lifetime of stress and chaos. But
no, I get that. And, I stopping by and seeing the place in person, you'd never really guessed that it's so frantic in the background.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't
put on
come
a good
off
face.
That way. Yeah, no, it doesn't come off that way at all. And plus, I got to point out, your guys' entry has these adorable plant holders that look like cupcakes. I want to know the inspiration, the idea behind that.
Okay, so I wanted something out front, because you see those places you go to and there's this gorgeous pot of like flowers and everything. I can't keep plants alive to save my life, usually. So I was like, well, maybe if you put something else in there that's not plants, and then someone, I forget who on my staff was like, we could make them cupcakes. I'm like, that's genius. Yes, let's do it. And so and
they look like cupcakes.
They
too.
do. One of my front staff people, Lulu, she's a little creative. And so she went and got pool noodles and twisted them and glued them together and painted them, dressed them up. So now they look like cupcakes. And we just set them up front. So whenever the cupcakes are out, that the cupcakes place is open. So
absolutely, they're perfect. They match the aesthetic perfectly.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. Now, on your guys' website, it's a lot of custom orders, a lot of custom cakes, cookies, and I'm so curious. What is the most difficult part about a custom order?
Sometimes it's quoting it, because you'll get people send you inspiration pics, which I love, because then it gives me like a visual. I'm a very visual person.
Me too.
And I'm an artist by nature, so doing art with sugar is a little different. Because when people are ordering custom stuff, they send you a photo or 12, and they say, this is what I love. And I'm like, great. Can we boil this down?
Let's temper some expectation.
Yeah. Sometimes it's expectations. Sometimes it's educating the customer.
True.
So they'll send you something, It looks gorgeous and elaborate. It's got all this fun stuff on it that I love making because it lets me be creative. But it's also, let's say, a lot of fondant. I don't know if you're familiar with fondant. It's like the sugar paste that you can sculpt and make into different things on cake. Not everyone loves the taste of fondant.
Sure.
And so you have to preface it with, well, this is a lot of fondant. Are you okay with fondant? Like, oh, no, I hate fondant. Like, well, then this design may not be feasible with what you want. So it's a lot of educating the customer on those sorts of things to let them know this is what we can do. This is what you're getting. This is how much it's going to cost, because they might see something and have no idea. Here's how many servings there are in these various tiers. And the flavors that you want cost a lot more to make than a basic vanilla, you know? So it's like, it's a lot of that. So that's, plus like every custom you get is a different person and a different set of ideals. So it's not doing the same thing every time. It's not cookie cutter, pardon the pun, but it's like, you know, it takes sitting down and really combing through the expectations and the request, and then pricing it out and quoting them, and then doing the back and forth of, well, what if we did this or this? So that takes a lot of time. I have a person who's amazing. Jessica does all my quoting, and her sole job is to communicate with customers and do mostly that.
I love that.
It's a lot, and it's a big job, and she does an excellent job doing it. So I don't know where I would be without her because it's overwhelming, but she does, that's all she does. And so she has all these, over time, she's learned all the nuances of what we do, but it's necessary in order to have good customer service when you're doing customs to be able to do that fine print stuff.
Absolutely. And customer communication is key in any business, especially when you're doing custom orders like that. I am curious, just off of something you had said in there, I am curious, what is kind of one of the more expensive ingredients, you know? Because you kind of see that from time to time, like raspberries sometimes might be more expensive because of the season. Or, you know, maybe some citrus fruits might be that higher cost point. Maybe it's a decadent chocolate of some kind. I was just kind of curious, just my random radio thought of the day.
Gosh, it depends. I mean, if we're going for like super ornate fruits and things like that. So like rare fruits.
Like pomegranates and star fruit and stuff like that.
Or mangoes, you know, because that is
mango, you know.
People walk in the door and expect mangoes to be there all the time. And like, mangoes are seasonal. So, you know, scale that back a bit. But they're also not cheap, you know. So when you're buying, we do everything from scratch. So when you're buying stuff fresh and you're bringing it back to the bakery and you're prepping it and everything, you want it to taste as good as it's going to taste, so you have to get mangoes at just the right slice of time, you know, for it to be ripe and really taste good. Either that or you're buying frozen stuff, which we've done in the past to make sure that it tastes right and help with cost. But it is real fruit still. So it depends. Usually
a lot of seasonal dependency.
A seasonal dependency, but also like apparently butter and eggs are insane right now.
I guess,
So like that fluctuates so much, but it has gotten really high. I mean, it's like, I feel like it's almost as close to what it was during the pandemic. There was that season of time where everything was going through the roof price-wise. I don't remember what it was. I think I may have spent like $20 on 4 pounds of butter, and I was like pulling my hair out thinking, how am I going to sustain this? But it's just, it is what it is. It's the nature of the business. You're in a food industry. You have to go with the flow of whatever food is available regardless of the price, because it's part of the ingredients. I'm not going to change my base recipes from butter to something cheaper because butter is the best ingredient for what I'm doing. So
and I think that speaks testaments to how the behind the scenes operates on this. It's not taking shortcuts. You're not going to get a different cupcake than the last time you got there. So I think that's really important to have those grounds and have that perimeter of quality control is probably the best way I could probably put that out there. I did see something else on your guys' website, which I think, guys, fellas, pay attention to this when I'm saying this here. If you want to be your girlfriend or wife's favorite person on earth, it's a cupcake bouquet. These are gorgeous. I saw a couple of them online. I want you to kind of give the dish on them. So how did you come up with them? And, you know, and explain like why this is like the best gift ever.
I don't think it's a cupcake bouquet. I mean, any explanation needed? So these were something that actually when I was first starting to dabble with the idea of like baking and stuff in my kitchen and turning it into a business, I toyed with this for a little bit. Some random person knows that I love baking, and my friends send me stuff all the time. They send me like reels, and they send me stuff that they found on Instagram and all over the place, YouTube videos. Like, look at this cool thing. And I love those because then it gives me inspiration. But someone sent me this video of, it must have been a bakery in New York, you know, very bougie bakery. And they were making bouquets with cupcakes and like sticking them on this foam ball with toothpicks and like sending them on there on top of like a really lovely vase, and I'm sure they charge an astronomical amount for these things, but like it was gorgeous, and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to do that. So I started playing with different ways to do it myself and tried the foam ball and everything. I didn't love it. Started researching more. It was a whole process. I had like prototypes upon prototypes at my house of like cardboard cutouts of things, like trying to figure out how do I make this stand up like a vase instead of just sitting, you know, on the table. Finally came up with a design that works really well and is easily duplicatable. So we go with that now, and we basically decorate each top of the cupcake like a flower. So whether it's a rose or it's a collection of tiny flowers or it's a daisy, whatever the design might be. So we have these set designs that we create based on what people want. They just go on the website and order that one and say, this is what I want. And 3 days later, I can come in and pick it up because we have the ability to crank out like a bulk amount of the bases that we, you know, have to build. And then once we have those done, it's a matter of getting all the dressing up ready. So we dress tissue paper up and ribbon and everything around it. And then we make the cupcakes, decorate them, set them in the base. So if we're able to do like a bulk of those at once, getting those turned out for people on a short timeline is feasible.
I love that.
But that was the whole thing it started with. I did those the Mother's Day of 2020 because we were trying to figure out what if no one was able to get together at that point. So I was like, I'll just play with these. And I did them, and I dropped them off on the doorsteps of all the moms in my life, you know, that I wanted to celebrate with, but we couldn't see. And that was kind of the start of it. I just randomly posted on Facebook, like, Happy Mother's Day, everyone. I gave these to all my moms. Do you think I should sell them? On a whim, half joking. And so many comments came from that. I was like, oh my gosh, you should. I wish I lived closer. And I was like, oh, there's something here.
Yeah.
So sparked something. And I was like, maybe I should run with this. So that was the first step.
Yeah, I love that. I love how that kind of came to be the natural origin progression of it. And I like how you found the idea kind of shared to you, but then you refined it to make it something you are passionate about. Now, I'm a little curious on those bouquets. You kind of said it's kind of a set display or set different patterns and things like that. Are the cakes themselves set as well, like vanilla, chocolate, different flavorings, or are those customizable?
Currently, there's just two things you can do. So you can do a bouquet, and it's 12 cupcakes. So you get a dozen cupcakes. You can do a dozen chocolate, a dozen vanilla, or you can do half and half.
Okay.
So you get 6 of each.
Perfect.
So those are the options we have right now.
I love that. And, you know, down the road, obviously, when this podcast gets you 1 billion different customers and you guys have this enterprise.
That'd be great.
I would love that, too. When you guys have that massive enterprise, then you can experiment with them.
Yeah.
I love that.
When I have an empire, we'll discuss that.
When it's the Happy Mango Empire instead of the bakery, now we know you've made it. Now, I'd be definitely remiss if I didn't mention your portfolio on your website. You'd already made a mention that you're an artist.
Yeah.
And I think the cookies and the cakes and things that are on there are basically like drawings and paintings themselves to me when I'm seeing these.
Yeah, they're art.
They're beautiful.
They're art to me. Like, I know people eat them, but it's art for me. So it's like when I'm sitting there doing all of it, I'm just meticulous and I get in my head. When I get in a zone, and people will know if I'm sitting back there and I'm working on a set of cookies and I'm in the zone, they can see it and they're like, we're not going to bother her right now. Like, they come to ask me questions, like, we're just going to turn around and like go, because I'm like in it, you know. And I love that whole process. So yeah, it is art to me. And it used to kind of kill me to think like I'm spending this much time on something that people are going to take and just like cut apart and eat. But it's almost better for me because then it's like, it's a cycle, you know. This art gets created and then it gets destroyed or enjoyed, however you see it. And then,
that's a good way.
You know, you just keep going and I just keep making more art. And I'll keep doing it as long as people keep ordering art.
Absolutely. Keep ordering that art because it is delicious. I have ordered and tasted some of this art. I am curious, though, do you have a favorite design that you've done thus far?
Like of a cake or a cookie?
Yeah.
I have a couple of cookie sets that I've done that I really didn't want to hand over to the customer.
Oh, no.
Because I was like, oh, I like this one so much. I want to keep it like it's my baby. But that just means I was really into the design and I enjoyed it. And I had a couple of those. I did a set of cookies that was it was like a horse theme. So they had some cookies that were horseshoes with the child's name in it. And then an actual horse, like a profile of a horse with the hair. And they wanted very fancy horses, which I appreciate because I'm a little extra. So they had like, you know, roses in the hair and cute. Like, you know, flowers on the horseshoes, and it looked all sorts of fancy. And I loved making this set, and I was like, I don't want to give this one up. But they paid me, so I have to.
I have to give it up.
Yeah.
No.
So I have ones like that, and there's sometimes where cakes that I take extra photos of it because I want to remember like all the angles, but then I have to give it away. There are certain ones, that really get me.
I think that's so cool because I think it just speaks to your passion about this in general. As you view this as art, you view this as a personal attachment almost, and then it's the customers. And I kind of like that transition because you're not in the business obviously to keep things for yourself. You've got to share them with your customers. And I think that brings an interesting level of detail to it because some of these pictures, some of these photos of these projects, I don't feel like they don't do them justice sometimes because they're so immaculate.
Yeah, it's hard to capture it in a photo, especially when we're doing things. We occasionally post these once a week or so on our Facebook, say, hey, look what we made, kind of thing, just to show people more of our portfolio as we go along. Love. But in one photo, it's hard to capture. And lighting's never great. We're not photographers there, so we get what we can of it. But just the one image doesn't really capture what it looks like in person. Yeah. So sometimes that's hard. But I guess the only way people get to see it is if they just order one.
Yeah, it's the best way to enjoy this art is going to be firsthand in person when you hand it off to them. I imagine the looks on people's faces are sometimes it just does it all for you. That kind of chest tug moment.
Yeah. I mean, as long as I get to be there for the handoff. Sometimes I'm not. Sure. Because I'm not at the counter a lot. But I think the best part is when you're making a cake for a kid, one of the young kids, and they come in, and sometimes they're with their parents when they come into it. Most of the time they're not. But you occasionally get that moment where the parent brings the kid in to see the cake, and they lean down to show them, and just the look on their face is just like, oh my gosh, that's so worth it. Yeah, you can tell that they love it and it's amazing and they're just enjoying everything about it. There was cake made and her little girl kept, they took it and they put it on the counter and she kept going over and checking on it before her party multiple times, every 10 minutes looking at it, and they shared that story with me and I thought, that's amazing. I love that.
That's so
she got the full enjoyment of the whole process from it and then they got to eat it. So I was adorable. That's great.
That is so adorable.
That makes my day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that just has to feel like the best moment ever. And I know that besides all the custom orders that you guys do, you actually offer baking classes. Now, I'm curious about these. I might even try to sign up for these because I'm a good cook. I'm not a good baker. I always tell people baking is more scientific than people give it credit for.
Yeah, it is.
Very accurate. You have to be with your measurements a lot of times. You can't really just wing it on some things. I am so curious, what kind of classes do you offer in that regard? Is it just kind of your basic baking kind of fundamental, or do you kind of go a little bit past that?
So right now what we're offering are fundamental cake class, and that's essentially, we haven't quite gotten to the baking part yet. We're still working on getting our system set up so that we can have ovens out where people can use them and do the baking process as well. Structuring the logistics of those classes are a little harder because we know it'll take a lot more time, because if you go through the baking process, you have to go through the cooling process and then everything else. So
and then the frosting process.
Exactly. You can't put frosting on a warm cake. It'll just melt. So what we're doing right now are fundamentals classes where the cake is already made and they're getting the cake, they're getting frosting, all the tools that they need, and then the instruction for however long the class is. I think our fundamentals is 3 hours long, which for anyone that's that's a long time. It goes by so fast. You don't even realize you've been there for 3 hours doing it because you're so in it. But basically they learn how to cut, level, stack a cake, crumb coat a cake. Everyone's heard that term, crumb coating. You learn why. You learn what's important about it and how to do it. You learn how to do a final coat of frosting on a cake. You do some floral, some other piping techniques. A lot is crammed into that 3 hours. So you get a ton of experience, and then you get some tools to take home with you so you can practice at home.
And all of these things that you just listed off, I've watched on MasterChef so many times, and I've heard so many judgments about, oh, you shouldn't do this and you can't do this. And I know that I would probably still mess it up.
No, it's not messing it up. It's a learning experience. That's how we see it. You don't make mistakes.
I was Bob Ross said it best. There's no mistakes. Just happy accidents.
Happy little treats. Just happy little cakes. That's all they are.
Happy little cakes.
And I tell everyone in the class, if you come through and you've got it perfect and then you smash something or mess it up, that's just where you put an extra flour is all. You just cover it up with something pretty and then it's fine.
I love that. I do love that. Now I am curious, what all is more readily available and for pickup if somebody were to walk in today, and what a time frame looks like when they place those custom orders? Obviously that's going to depend on the intricacy of the order itself, but on an average.
So for custom orders, we tell people you want to give at least 2 weeks notice. The way that we do our schedule and the way we map out our baking our baking schedule and then scheduling our staff is like a 2-week window. So within a 2-week window, there's going to be a rush fee added on to whatever you order. And it's just because of the way that we're trying to structure things and work it. Adding something into the mix in that time frame throws things off a little bit. We have to restructure. So that creates a lot of more time. Sometimes you have to bring in more staff. So outside of that 2-week window, you're good. The more elaborate what you're trying to do is, or the more, I guess elaborate is a good word.
Eccentric.
Eccentric is a good one. But just the amount of the volume that you're trying to get.
Gotcha.
So let's say you are doing something that's for like a big event and you have 50 people you're feeding and you need a huge cake and extra cupcakes, maybe some other treats. Like the larger your order is, the further out you should probably go.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And so I give people a rule of thumb, like 2 weeks minimum for every $100 that you're going to be spending on any kind of treats, add a week. So if you're doing a wedding where you're like, listen, I've got orders and people, 200 people coming with this and that's going on. Order is going to end up costing you about $600. I'm like, well, then add 6 weeks onto that like 2-week window to give you plenty of time. And most weddings will do it like a year in advance sometimes. But,
absolutely,
you know, for us in our scheduling, that's how much time we would recommend, rule of thumb.
No, and that's a good rule of thumb, I think, to have in a lot of, again, custom order business is very detailed work anyway. I think that's a fair amount of time for people to really work with you on. Yeah. And especially from the optic side, from the business standpoint, you know, you staff out 2 weeks and then, you know, that kind of changes when you have to schedule the next time.
Yep.
So I totally understand that. And I think a lot of business perspective and business minds will understand that as well. Yeah. Now, if I walked in today, what could I get?
So what I believe we have available today, as long as based on the time it is today, if we haven't sold out of something yet. So what we have is a handful of different cupcake flavors. It's fall. So when we're recording this, so we have pumpkin cheesecake and apple pie are the 2 flavors that are flying off the shelves.
Yeah, the apple pie is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
That is, folks at home need to go just to go get that.
Just that, yeah.
The pumpkin one is phenomenal as well, don't get me wrong, but that apple, having the apple on the inside, game changer.
Yeah, it is apple. We like make the apple pie filling from scratch.
It's so good.
When we're making it in the kitchen, it's like, we just smell it, we're like, oh, this is heaven.
Yes.
It's great. So if we could bottle that smell, I think we'd make a lot of money too.
Be a billionaire.
I know. So that one is really good. Those are the 2 fall flavors that we have out right now. We also have a really yummy chocolate peanut butter cupcake. So it's our traditional chocolate cake with peanut butter frosting, and then we put Reese's Pieces on top.
My girlfriend maybe gave me that one, and I enjoyed it very, very much.
And then we have a handful of other flavors. We rotate things regularly, so like seasonally we'll have different ones that come out possibly in the winter. And then we have your regular like double chocolate, vanilla, confetti. We had a strawberry crunch cupcake. I don't know if that one's gone yet. And then what's another big one? Oh, pink champagne.
Pink champagne is
a big one. People love that one.
You have an almond one as well.
We do have almond.
It's so good.
Yeah,
that one was like surprisingly one of my favorites out of that.
People say that like it's very simple, but for some reason that is my favorite. It's because the almond flavoring is so good. And if anyone is like curious what that is tasting like, it's basically traditional wedding cake is an almond flavored cake.
Yeah.
And that's what that one is. So like the structure of the cake and the flavor and everything is what people would typically, if I want a traditional wedding cake, what do I get? That's what that one is. So but yeah, we have lots of different flavors. We rotate through them regularly just to keep it fresh and try new things. We had an Oreo cupcake for a while and people really enjoyed that. We might bring that one back soon. That hasn't seen the shelves for a while. And then other things we are dabbling with putting more quick cookies out there. So like oatmeal raisin cookies, chocolate chip cookies. Brownies have become a big thing. We had someone walk in yesterday saying, do you have any more s'mores brownies this week? And we were like, sorry, we sold out and haven't had a chance to make another batch yet. So apparently they're demanding those. Those are really big.
I love it.
But plain brownies are always good because it's a giant block of a brownie that you get to enjoy. And some people are like, that's enough for a week. So they just cut it up and like go over a week and then come back for another one. So yeah, those are the big things we're doing. And cake pops always.
Cake pops, yes.
Those flavors will rotate depending upon what we have available as far as cake scraps in the back. That's literally what they come from. We cut our cakes apart and level them off to make them nice and clean when we're assembling them. And so there's always scraps from that. So we just put the scraps in a bin. And then when our bin is full, we do a row of cake pops and we'll have whatever flavor was in the orders for the following week. So,
and I think that's such a cool idea that you're recycling perfectly good cake. That's just, it's not the pretty parts of the cake, or, you have to take some off to make things level. And it's just a really good idea to not have waste.
And why would you throw it away? It's good
exactly.
Cake.
It's perfectly good cake. No, I love the reinvention of that for cake pops. That is fantastic. I missed out, unfortunately for me. This is my own fault, and I don't blame anybody but myself. I missed out on your summertime flavors. I'm a big citrus guy. You guys had some amazing sounding flavors.
Oh, they're so good. My favorite summer one is the strawberry lemonade.
I'm such a sucker for lemon.
It's so good. The lemon cupcake on its own is really good. But then we take that and we marry it with our strawberry buttercream. And it's so really good. Yeah.
See, next summer, I'm going to be like the first person at your door when you announce the shift of flavors.
We'll let you know. Follow our Facebook. We'll say it all there. But yeah, it's I love the summer flavors too. I'm a sucker for that. I love summer. So. Yeah,
I'm excited. And your guys' fall flavors are phenomenal. Like I said, I've previewed and sampled pretty much all of them I think you had available at that point. So definitely encourage people to go, at least if you go get a dozen, you can get pretty much the mix and match of all of them. Go try them out and you'll find your favorite. I guarantee you're going to find a favorite.
Yeah.
And I don't like to make fun of my family too much.
But you're gonna anyway.
But I'm going to throw them right underneath that bus. And I'm going to rephrase how I was going to say this. I was not a cupcake person. I'm going to throw my pen real quick. I was not a cupcake person until last week when I had these. Because all the cupcakes I've ever had are dry and taste like I'm eating sand with frosting.
Well, that's unfortunate for you.
Except for last week when I happened to pick up these beautiful cupcakes from Happy Mango Bakery. And they are so moist and so tasteful that I was blown away. It has changed my view on cupcakes. I just want to say that.
Well, I'm done for the day. That's astonishing. I've done my work. I've
converted
someone.
Me. You have converted me to cupcakes.
Were you not just a cake person in general, or you didn't like frosting, or what was it?
It was more the cakes in general. So cake for me, angel food has pretty much been the only one I've really gravitated towards.
I love angel food. We need to do that in the shop.
Now
you're giving me ideas.
Yeah,
gosh, you're adding to my work plate.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Angel food cupcake with a lemon frosting.
Now you're making me hungry.
Just
saying. I have to go to work after this, Dylan.
I do too. But yes, I'm so excited about that. But you have converted me back into the world of cupcakes. So
I'm glad.
I'm glad that you're glad. I'm glad as well. I'm very happy about it. Now, I am so curious about your industry in general, and I'm super, super curious about the more difficult aspects of your industry that maybe feels like it goes unnoticed by the populace or by consumers.
Oh my gosh, there's so much. So when you look at the behind the scenes stuff, basically everything a customer can see when they walk in the front doors is set up so that it adds to the customer experience, right? And our stuff is still a work in progress. Our shop's going to be kind of tweaked and gone on for a while. Pretty sure until our first birthday there. We'll be still working on things and tweaking things. But all that's set up to accommodate the customer experience. And then everything that you don't see behind that, which in our facility, actually, they can see the kitchen because we specifically put windows in there so that people could see in. Because I really love the idea of kids looking in and seeing the magic happen. As a child, I would have loved that. So I was like, we're putting in windows. But anything that you can't see is all of the scheduling, the meetings with my admin team, the marketing, the getting a schedule on Facebook ready to go, working with recipes. I have to enter all the recipes so that my staff can follow them.
Right.
I have to convert a lot of them because some of them were done when I was still working at my house and we just worked with cups and things instead of,
big
grams.
Yeah.
We measure everything literally out by grams, every individual ingredient. So it has to be precise. Yeah. So they have to have a foundation to work on. So all those behind the scenes things that no one sees or thinks about is happening all the time. And in my head, they're happening 24/7. I dream about baking. It's really sad. I need a vacation. But all this stuff happens and no one sees it. But then everyone expects the front to look polished all the time. But that only happens when the behind the scenes is going smoothly.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, if we're doing our job, you won't notice it.
Yep. And I think it's kind of the fun thing, right? But again, I wanted to ask you that question because I feel like, especially in the baking industry, you had made allusions to it that, there are so many of the intricacies behind it. You have to be precise. You have to have the correct ingredients. You have to have fresh ingredients. You have to put in a lot of legwork behind the scenes before you even bake the first cupcake. So I think, that was one thing I did want you to kind of be able to allude to and give a little shout out to the people behind the scenes,
Yes.
because they go unsung sometimes, and it's not on purpose. It's not intentional. It's just, it's the way of the industry sometimes. You just get caught up in everything, and it's all just part of the process. And so special shout out to everybody behind the scenes that you feel like you don't get noticed. You do, I promise.
The thing people don't realize when you come to baking stuff is if people see that you're doing a lot of work, or they notice, you're running out of product up front, all that's made from scratch. We can't just pull it out of a package and set it up front.
Right.
It takes time, and it takes time to get the new people on board to know how to do those things without us having to sit there and observe them, to make sure everything's running smoothly and doing what they're, how the process is supposed to go. So it will end up being a new person comes on board, which is last week we've had a couple. And so all of our production gets slowed down because we have to stop for every single in-between step to give them instruction. So it takes a lot longer. So if people come in saying, well, why aren't you guys stocked fully? Shouldn't you get more staff? Like, we're working on it. I promise you we're working on it. It just takes time. Like, we can't get someone in there and immediately our production goes up.
Exactly.
It takes a while.
Yep.
But so there's all those people that are in the background making everything happen so that we can smoothly run everything. And they don't get the credit that they deserve. They don't get the pay they deserve. I wish I was a giant company. I could give everyone tons of pay and benefits and everything else, and I'm working towards that. So
we'll get there.
They're amazing.
We will get there, absolutely. And shout outs to all the amazing Happy Mango Bakery employees that, honestly, yes, your front of house is fantastic. Just in my experience alone, phenomenal. Felt like I was so welcome, and it was educational, gone through every single flavor. Hey, these are all made fresh morning of, and I think it just adds to that nuance of the business of just, hey, the reinforcement, it's fresh. It's fresh.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really big thing in today's world. Because like you said, nobody wants somebody that's going to just take something out of a package, go put it in their display case and call it theirs. And on top of that, most of the ones you get in a package aren't that good.
Yeah.
At least not as good as the ones I just got converted by.
Yeah.
Now, I am super, super curious. In your opinion, what's the toughest pastry, dessert, or cake that you've had to experiment with, cook, pull off? I'm very curious. I feel like this is an open for interpretation depending on what style of baker you might be, but
that's true. But in my experience, macarons are the hardest. They are a very finicky recipe, and it's like the planets have to align for them to come out right.
Right, and they have to be the perfect size, or else they don't fit in their little box.
Yep. So they have been a challenge for sure, and I started learning how to do those on my own. I just like watching videos and trying them out, and I took one small course online, and that gave me a little more buffer to be like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, but it still didn't turn out. I mean, I did them so many times. I was losing my mind.
Which is fair.
I was throwing equipment in my kitchen. I was throwing tools and telling my husband, I'm never trying these again. And then the next week, I'm like, I think I should try it again. And then he'd look at me like, why are you doing this to yourself? I'm like, because they're macarons and I want to learn them. But they're hard.
They're so tough.
Once you get them down, you're like, okay, this is good. I've got it. And then it doesn't take as much time because you've got the flow of it. But learning the technique and learning the timing and everything else, that's a lot. And then having to switch it from moving it from my home and doing it there in that oven to the oven that we have is like, we had to revamp all of our recipes because nothing baked the same amount of time. They're all convection ovens instead of my oven at home. So there's a different situation going on there. Just, there's so much. So when we finally figured out how to do the macarons in-house, we were like, thank goodness. We've got this down now again for the 12th time. So yes, those are the hardest, I think. I
had a feeling when I'd seen them on the website, I was like, oh, macarons are definitely going to be the answer on this one. But, you know, those are one of those little desserts that I think once people have, they're like, oh my gosh, why have I never had these before? Because they're just so unique and so decadent themselves. They're so cool. I'm glad you can pull them off. And I think this interview is super, super eye-opening to, again, the science and the technicality behind baking, just converting recipes alone, going from cups, like you said, to measuring in grams and pounds and things like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work just itself.
It is. It's a lot of brain power. My brain hurts quite a bit after I have to sit there and convert a recipe, but yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's a lot of math, and I am not a math magician. Neither
am I.
The broadcast guy. So I love it. Now, in your opinion, what's the most difficult and the best part about owning and running your own business?
I mean, there's owning and running a business pre-brick and mortar and post-brick and mortar, and they're two completely different animals. When I was in my house, the hard parts were I have to share this kitchen with my family, and they're still trying to make their food in between me doing stuff, and my children are running about and keep the kids away from the trays of cookies. They can't touch them because there's over customers kind of thing. Like, it was a whole thing. And once we got the logistics figured out, it was just stressful all the time. So that wasn't the most fun. Now that I don't have that problem, I have the brick and mortar problems of we have to make enough money to keep the lights on. You have overhead problems now, and then that's not something that it's something that you anticipate, but it's not something that you see as a problem. You're like, oh, I'll just make enough money to do this. But where does the money come from? You know, like, you have to have enough people coming in the door, buying your treats every day. You have to have enough custom orders. You have to get enough people booked for classes. Like, it's all the components have to align in order for you to be able to funnel it and make sure it stays funded and the lights stay on, essentially. So it's difficult to see that back part of it and try to figure out logistics of how many people do we have to have coming in, how much do we have to sell in order for this to work. It's constantly balancing the formula every single day.
Absolutely.
And that's exhausting. Not only that, but when you're the person that owns the business, you're not just managing, like, how do we make sure this works, and desperately trying to delegate to people while still feeling like it's your baby and it's hard to give it away. That's difficult. There's parts of that I've gotten over where I'm like, I know I have to delegate the making of the cakes to someone else. Okay, well, I'll create a formula they can follow and they're fine, right? But it's like creating all those formulas that you can just hand over to someone else and they can be done properly. That's hard because it's like your baby. You're not going to hand your brand new infant over to someone you've never met before. I'm like, here you go, bye, have a good time. Like, it's stressful. So it's a very different ballgame. But the brick and mortar stuff is definitely far more exhausting than I had ever imagined possible. People tell you it's hard, and I knew it was going to be hard. You don't know the kind of hard it's going to be. It's kind of like becoming a parent. I don't know if you have children at all.
I do not.
Oh, bless your heart. I have 3 kids of my own, but then
bless your heart.
I had the bakery, which I feel like is my 4th baby.
Right.
And it's like being a parent where everyone gives you advice on parenting and everyone tells you, oh, it's going to be hard. You're going to have a hard time with this. Or if you need help, call me, that kind of thing. They all tell you that. And so you can read every book in the world about what it is to run a business. Until you're in it, you have no idea. So it is a lot, and it takes a lot of like support and help from everyone around you. It's not what you see on the outside, I guess is what I can say. Like I don't know how else to phrase that.
No, I think that's a really good way to put it is, there is always more behind the scenes than a lot of people will ever be privy to.
Yeah.
And so I am then curious, what is the best parts about the business? You maybe pre-brick and mortar and post-brick and mortar.
Pre-brick and mortar, I think the best part was that I finally found something that like channeled my creativity in a way that I enjoyed. Even though I had hard days and I'd wake up, or I'd go to sleep being like, oh my gosh, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I wake up the next day and be like, okay, yeah, I got it. I can do this. It's fine. So learning experience after learning experience, people can call them failures. That's the way I see them though. It became something that I was like I could really sink my teeth into and was like, I can do this. This is really up my wheelhouse. I love challenges. People throw things at me that seem impossible. I'm like, challenge accepted. Let's do this. To my detriment. Sometimes that's not healthy, but I go at it. And on the brick and mortar side, I think the best part that I have experienced about this part of it is because we've expanded our team so much, it feels like a little family.
I love that.
And so it is like the best part of it for me is like building that tiny little tight-knit community that we're all like going for the same goal. They might not have the same dream that I do, but they're there supporting my dream every time they show up, every time they make something for me, every time they come up with a new idea. It's like, it's like so heartwarming to see other people support your dream in a way that you thought was never possible. So that is the best part, I think. Despite all the chaos and everything else and the stress, like that's amazing. And to get more people on board is just it feels like our family's growing. So
I love that, and I'm happy that the family is growing. A couple new bakers in the inventory there to join the staff. I think that's fantastic that it's moving in the right direction for you. Again, love the fact that you were able to come on today. We're going to do a quick little plug for you. Where can people find you? What's the best way to place some orders online?
So you can find us at the storefront, the brick and mortar, which is near 96th and Giles. The exact address is 9635 Giles Road, if you're Googling it. And then placing an order, we do have an order form on our website. Probably that is the fastest way to get to what you need, because those order forms go directly to Jessica, who I talked about. She does all of our order stuff. They go directly to her, and she works on the weekdays. So if you submit that and send it in, she will get that in the next, whatever weekday it is, whatever business day, she will get on those right away and start calling people to dish out details. So she contacts every single person that submitted one of those.
Perfect.
And I know the easiest way to hash out details of that sort of thing is a phone call. So if you say that your preferred method is actual phone call instead of a text or an email, you can knock through that stuff really quick and get it on the books, and you're good to go.
I love it.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, what all are you on?
We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. I have a personal LinkedIn account, but I'm not super tech savvy, so
That's
I don't
okay.
know. I'm not the social media guru. So I have a thing, but it's not really business related. Facebook and Instagram is probably the best way to see our stuff.
Absolutely. And you've got the social media advisor that's on that part of things, making sure everything's all pretty and up to date for you as well. So definitely check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and of course online. Now, Megan, what is something that you want listeners to know more about when it comes to either Happy Mango Bakery or maybe about desserts in general?
Understanding wherever you're going for your treats currently, understanding what it is they can offer you and if that aligns with your values. And I don't mean political values or whatever, but if what you're looking for is really made from scratch, attention to detail, articulately designed and everything else, that's what we offer. We are not the quick grab a cake off the shelf, go
quote unquote cookie cutter business, not for a pun or anything.
Grocery store cakes, things like that. There's a market for that. People still want those things, which is why those places still exist. You have to figure out what it is you're going for, what the value is that you're looking for in a treat or cake or whatever it is that you're purchasing, and go to the places that will give you that. There's other places like me around. There are other local bakeries that do make things from scratch and do a great job.
Absolutely.
So I'm not the only one. And my vibe is not for everybody. So if you don't like what I have to offer, there's other places that will. But figure out what your value is first, and then go seek the people that will align with that. Because if you're planning, I've given people this analogy before, if you're planning a princess party, right? And you want to hire the princess to come and be Princess Elsa or whatever it may be, and you want all the decorations and you want a fancy cake and everything else, figure out what it is about that event that you really want to focus on. If your whole focal point is the giant elaborate cake that looks amazing, absolutely we can do that for you. It's going to cost a lot of your budget. So if the princess that shows up is the most important thing, focus on that and go get a grocery store cake. I'm not all about forcing everyone. I'm not in the industry of convincing people to come buy my stuff. I'm hoping that the right people will show up and they'll be able to make those forever and ever for them. But get the values aligned to what you want and then go seek that out.
I think that's really honest advice, if I'm just throwing that out there, because a lot of times, like you said, a lot of people are going to encourage them, oh no, I'm the guy, you come see me, or come shop here because I'm the local person. But I think that is such an honest way to go about it. Hey, find what's going to line up with who you are, and if I'm in that category, fantastic. And I think that you're definitely in my category, because if you couldn't, I'm the colorful person in the office here. Whether it's a bright polo that I've got on or tattoos, I love color, art. I help to design the room that we're in as well, which is a little random at the moment, I know, but little soundproofing needs still put in place. But no, I think it's one of those. I think that's really honest advice, and I think that's a really cool way to kind of present it, in a very polite way of presenting that too. Now, before we flip the side of the coin, which I call flipping the side of the coin, we've been all business, and then I get to ask you a couple personal questions here.
Okay.
Before we flip it, anything else you'd love for people to know?
We're just trying to expand. We're trying.
Support a local business.
Exactly. I have some ideas that I haven't dropped yet. I mean, I've shared them with other people before, but there are things that I really want to expand into, and I'm very excited about them. But we just don't have the capacity yet to do it. And one of them is a baking library.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So I haven't gotten into the weeds on that yet, but it's essentially just like a regular library. You can come check out cookie cutters. You can buy a sheet of cookie dough and do your thing at home. Bring the cutters back. Check something else out. You know, it's for people who want to experiment and have fun in the kitchen. And this is how I started with all my stuff with my business. I would try to find things and then I didn't have them, so I had to save up enough money till I did. But I thought, what if I had the ability to check those things out instead of having to purchase them outright, and I could have dabbled with things, and if I didn't like it, I didn't have to keep it. It wasn't hanging up space in my kitchen, you know. So I had that idea, and we'd like to pursue it and start little. But again, it's having the capacity and the right. We have to have the runway to get it going. So.
No, that's a fantastic idea, and I can definitely see that is like the street light that's like 10 blocks down. You'll get to that point.
I will.
But absolutely, I think the business so far is fantastic. I love what you guys do. I love your guys' cupcakes.
Thank you.
Converted an anti-cupcaker to cupcakes. So that should just be a testament in itself there. Now, let's flip the side of the coin. It's all personal now. Get to know you a little bit more.
Sure.
Now that's here, you and I kind of alluded to this, work more of the summertime people. We like the bright colors, I'm guessing. Yeah. But now that's here, what's something that you do look forward to in fall?
I love bonfires.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a s'mores junkie. I'm also a purist. Doing a s'more on your gas stove is not the same thing as doing it over a campfire.
It is not.
And I know how to build a perfect campfire so that gives you a little s'mores oven so they don't get burned, but they just get charred on the outside. So if anyone loves s'mores, just come to my backyard and we'll hang out and I'll make you the perfect s'more. I promise you. I'm like a s'mores connoisseur. I'm such a snob. But I love that. And my husband is very into Halloween. He's already started decorating the inside of our house for Halloween. In the back of my head, I think, is this a little much? And then I'm like, no, you just let him do what he wants. It's fine. Very into Halloween. We do a whole bunch of fun stuff at our house for actual Halloween. Like when kids go trick-or-treating, we project a movie onto our garage door and we decorate the whole front. And like, we usually have a bonfire out front, but we sold that, so I don't know what we're going to do there. But yeah, I like the change of the season. Something about that clicks on the inside of me, and it's just like this calming, I don't know.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Now, since your husband's so into Halloween and all that, does he like to take you and the kids out to like pumpkin patches and stuff like that too?
We'll do that. We'll do that probably once a season. We don't tend to go there like every weekend, but we do enjoy that part of the fun. And basically anything that's related to fall, he's down for, like, all the time. He has a coffee mug that literally says Halloween always, and he uses it year round. I'm not joking.
I love
it's his
that.
Favorite.
I got a couple friends like that too.
Yeah.
If they could have spooky season, it would be all year. Now, in Omaha, you know, we've kind of mentioned it. There's a lot of bakeries like yourself out there, but there's a lot of everything out there in Omaha. So anything from restaurants to entertainment. I'm curious, though, what is Megan's Mount Rushmore of Omaha?
Like, what do I absolutely want to go to?
What are like the 5 that if somebody goes, what do I go see in Omaha? What's your top recommendations, your top places to see, your favorite places to be? Besides Happy Mango Bakery, of course.
Oh, geez. Well, I can't say that's my favorite. It depends on the day if that's my favorite place to be. Sometimes I work late nights and I'm like, I want to leave so bad. And then sometimes I'm in the zone. So, gosh, that is difficult. We don't get out much, you know. Per previous conversation when I'm working all the time. But when we do get out, one of our favorite places to go to eat is Hook and Lime.
Oh,
have you been there?
I have not been there yet.
Put that on your list.
It's on the list. I'm writing it right now.
I fell in love with their lavender margarita the first time we went, and I was like, shut the front door. They've ruined me for margaritas now. I cannot have another margarita and be satisfied with it. Like, it's just not the same. I love it so much, and their food is to die for. It's so good. That's one. You said entertainment too, right? Not just food?
Yeah, absolutely. Entertainment. I know the zoo gets a lot of mentions because it's obviously one of our most popular things in the world.
We have a membership, so we take the kids regularly. We just went somewhere recently that we actually posted on our Facebook page, or I posted there. My family tries to do something fun every Sunday because I only get Sunday away from the bakery where I have time with them only. We went to Scatterjoy Acres recently.
Oh, cool.
It's about 30 minutes south. It's in Murray, Nebraska, but it's an animal sanctuary, and it has like all various different kinds of animals. Like they have horses, donkeys, they have camels, they have llamas, they have little baby deer, they have a white fox with giant ears, like all these different things there. And they have kangaroos that are so cute that like you can pet and they're so soft. And I cuddled with one and I was in love. So really cool, like unique place to go that you're like, you wouldn't think of, but it exists and it's delightful. It's a cute little ranch and you can go like, you know.
Round and around and go see all of them. I love that. I don't think I've ever been out to Scatterjoy Acres. So I have that now on my list as well.
As far as just fun stuff to do with kids. I would love to do more of like the Children's Museum or the other museums in town. Like I said, we have like one Sunday and we can't cram everything in, but stuff like that because like it changes regularly and it's more of those places that aren't like chains that you get like that, what is it,
like the generic fun feel?
Yeah. Like, it's fun, but it's like curated for you fun. Like places you can go and curate your own fun or your own experience. I really love those.
Yeah.
So
have you checked out the Luminarium?
That was the other one on my list. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go.
That place is awesome.
It is on my list, and it has been on my list for months, and we just need to make it a point to get out there.
I have a friend of mine who works here in the office. His wife works out there.
Oh, nice.
And that place is so cool. I'm trying to work out a good time to get them on the show and let the Luminarium kind of present what it's all about for the folks at home if you don't know. Yeah, definitely a cool place to go check out, though, if you're into that side of things.
Yes.
It's a lot of science and a lot of very cool, like thought-provoking things that are there.
And I love those things.
Me too. So that's why I give them a little special shout out there.
Yeah.
But Megan, that is all the burning questions I had for you today. However, I would love for you one more time, tell the folks at home, best way to reach you guys, best way to find you, and where they can see you live in person.
Yeah. So we are at 96 in Giles, and we have been there since May. Our grand opening was in July, though. We plan to be there for a while. So if you're in the area, stop by and see us. The doors open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. most days. Thursday and Friday we're open till 6, and Saturdays we open a little earlier at 9. So 9 to 6 on Saturdays. You can check out what classes we have for offer. You can place an order for customs or our cupcake bouquets. Those are direct orders. And Jessica handles all those. You can do that on our website, and it's just happymangobakery.com. Real simple and easy.
Simple and easy.
Or if you have a burning question of your own that's not on the website and you need it answered, you can submit to either admin at Happy Mango Bakery or info at happymangobakery.com.
I love it. Yeah, if you have those burning questions that I missed, definitely reach out to them. And especially if you're in the market to get that beautiful custom cake design, go check out her portfolio on the website. I guarantee you are going to have your jaw drop like mine did at some of these beautiful works of art that we get to enjoy. So, Megan, thank you so much. Again, we've had the distinct pleasure to talk to Megan Shonka, owner of Happy Mango Bakery right here in Omaha. So, Megan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come on to the podcast. I'm so happy you were able to make it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, and listeners, thank you for taking time out of your day to tune in right here on the UIA Trusted Partners podcast. We'll have more next time.